In 1947, the trajectory of human understanding changed forever, though few realized it at the time. While the world was recovering from the Second World War, a Bedouin shepherd in the Judean desert threw a rock into a cave at Qumran and heard the shattering of pottery. Inside those jars were the Dead Sea Scrolls, manuscripts that had remained hidden for 2,000 years, untouched by the censorship of councils, kings, and religious institutions. Among these texts was the great Isaiah scroll. It was complete, ancient, and devastating to the established order. Why? Because it contained a precise instruction, a manual for operating the human machine that had been systematically edited out of the biblical canon we know today. This is not about dogma. This is about physics. It is about the mechanics of how energy is collapsed into matter, and how you, as the observer, are the engine of that collapse. For centuries, the religious authorities of the West taught a specific form of prayer, the prayer of petition. You ask, you beg, you plead with an external deity to change your circumstances. You see yourself as separate from the outcome, powerless until granted favor. But the text discovered in 1947 tells a completely different story. It describes a lost mode of prayer that doesn't rely on words, but on a specific quality of feeling that communicates directly with the quantum field. The suppression of this book and the knowledge it contains was not accidental. If you can control your reality through the manipulation of your own internal energy, you do not need an intermediary. You do not need a temple. You do not need a tithe. You become the source. This is the secret that institutions have feared for millennia. That the power to transform reality is innate, biological, and universally accessible. To understand how this works, we must look at what this 1947 text actually says about time and creation. The modern translation of the Bible might say, "Ask and you shall receive." It implies a future tense. It implies that the thing you want is not here yet. But the original Aramaic and Hebrew texts, specifically the unedited Isaiah scrolls, suggest a translation closer to surround yourself with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is a radical difference. It shifts the mechanism from asking to becoming. The text explains that the universe does not speak English or Latin or Arabic. The universe speaks frequency. It speaks the language of energy signatures. When you plead for something, please give me health, please give me abundance, you are emitting a frequency of lack. You are confirming to the field that you do not have it. The quantum field, being a mirror, reflects that lack back to you. The result is that you continue to want, but never have. The 1947 discovery reveals the technical hack to bypass this loop. The instruction is to merge your thought with emotion to create a state of being where the outcome has already happened. Think of it this way. Thought is the electrical charge. It directs the signal. It is the image of what you want. Emotion is the magnetic charge. It draws the event to you. When you combine a clear thought of your desire with the visceral, physical emotion of already having it, you create an electromagnetic signature that the reality field must respond to. This is where the control of energy comes in. Most people are sloppy with their energy. They think one thing, but feel another. They think about wealth, but they feel anxiety about bills. They think about love, but they feel the pain of loneliness. The signal is scrambled. The universe receives a chaotic broadcast and produces a chaotic reality. The ancient text describes a method of coherence. It requires you to go into the silence, a state the ancients called the bridal chamber, where the mind and heart unite. In this state, you suspend your sensory input. You close your eyes to the visible world, which shows you only the past, because everything you see is light that has already reflected off objects. You withdraw your attention from the what is and place it entirely on the what if. But here is the key detail that was hidden. You do not simply visualize. Visualization is mental. It is head work. The secret is to bring the sensation down into the body. You must feel the texture of the reality you are building. If you are manifesting a physical object, you must feel the weight of it in your hands in the present moment. If you are manifesting health, you must feel the vitality and the gratitude of the healed body now. The text explains that feeling is the bridge. Feeling is the command code. When you generate the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your body produces a chemical signature that matches that reality. Your DNA actually changes its expression, and because your body is emitting a new frequency, the mirror of the quantum field rearranges itself to match you. This challenges our linear view of time. We are taught that cause leads to effect. You do the work, then you get the reward. You get sick, then you get healed. But this forbidden knowledge suggests that creation works in reverse. You move to the end first. You inhabit the frequency of the result, and that frequency pulls the events of time toward you. The cause is the feeling of the result. Why was this hidden? Because it makes the individual dangerous to a control structure. A person who knows they can change the weather, heal their body, or attract resources simply by changing their internal state is impossible to govern. They cannot be manipulated by fear, because they know that fear is just a misuse of their creative power. They understand that if they fear something, they are essentially praying for it to happen, because they are energizing it with strong emotion. The 1947 texts that also clarify the concept of faith. In the modern world, faith is often defined as blind belief in religious doctrine. But in the context of these lost teachings, faith is a physics term. It is the ability to maintain a stable frequency in the presence of contradictory evidence. When you look at your bank account and it is empty, your senses tell you, "I am poor." That is the evidence of the world. The hidden work is to look at that empty account, but feel the sensation of overflowing abundance so intensely that the sensory evidence no longer matters. You prioritize your inner reality over the outer illusion. This is not delusion. This is how you overwrite the program. You are hacking the simulation. The text warns that this power is neutral. It does not judge. It works just as well for destruction as it does for creation. If you spend your days consuming angry news, feeling victimized, and resenting others, you are using this exact same ancient technology to build a prison for yourself. You are energizing a reality of conflict. The field says, yes, you are angry. Here is more to be angry about. To apply this 1947 knowledge today, you must adopt a strict mental diet. You must become the guardian of your own energy. The process is simple, but it requires discipline. First, identify the desire. Be precise. Vague requests produce vague results. Second, construct a scene, a short, imaginal act that implies the desire is already fulfilled. Not the middle of the process, but the end. If you want a promotion, imagine your partner shaking your hand and saying, "Congratulations on the new job." Third, and most importantly, enter a state of deep relaxation. The texts call this the state akin to sleep. Your brain waves must slow from beta to alpha or theta. This is where the conscious mind, the gatekeeper, steps aside, and the subconscious, the operating system, becomes accessible. Fourth, loop that scene. Replay it, but do not watch it like a movie screen. Step into the movie. See through your own eyes. Feel the handshake. Hear the voice. Smell the air. Generate the emotion of relief, of joy, of "it is done." Do this until you feel a sudden shift, a click. It is a sensation of release. It is the feeling that the energy has gone out of you. You no longer want it because you have it. Once you reach that state of inner possession, you must break the spell. You return to your normal life. But you do not look for signs. You do not worry about how it will happen. The how is the domain of the field. Your job is the what and the result. This is the knowledge that was kept in jars in the desert. It is the knowledge that you are not a passive observer of a fixed reality. You are a projector. The world you see is the printout of the frequencies you have held, consciously or unconsciously, up until this moment. If you don't like the printout, stop trying to change the paper. You cannot change the reflection in the mirror by scrubbing the glass. You must change the face in front of it. You must change your energy. You must accept the invitation of the 1947 discovery to step out of the role of the victim and into the role of the creator. The door is open. The code is feeling. The time is now. It is a text from 1947, a forbidden book, not forbidden by the police or the government, but forbidden by the guardians of the status quo, forbidden by the priests of the outer world who demand your submission to external power. It is a thin volume, unassuming, perhaps without a cover. The words inside are not complex. They do not require a degree in philosophy to understand. In fact, they are terrifyingly simple. You read the first line, and the ground beneath your feet lurches. Consciousness is the only reality. You pause, you read it again. Consciousness is the only reality. The book speaks to you with a voice that sounds suspiciously like your own, but an older, wiser version of you. It tells you that everything you see, the buildings, the wars, the bank accounts, the lovers, the enemies, is nothing more than a projection of your own internal state. It tells you that the world is a mirror, endlessly reflecting your own assumptions back to you. It tells you that God is not a man in the sky. It tells you that God is your own wonderful human imagination. You scoff. You throw the book down. It sounds like madness. It sounds like solipsism. It sounds like the desperate fantasy of a powerless man. If I am God, you think, looking around your cramped apartment, at the stack of unpaid bills, at the rain streaking the dirty window, then I am a terrible God. Why would I create this? Why would I create pain? Why would I create loneliness? But you cannot look away. The seed has been planted. The virus of truth has entered the system. You pick the book up again. You read on. The author, a mystic from a different era, speaks of a fourth dimension. He explains that while your body is trapped in the 3 dimensions of space, your mind, your true self, has access to a dimension where all things are already finished. He tells you that desire is not a lack, but a premonition. The very fact that you can desire something means it already exists in this 4th dimension, waiting for you to claim it. And the way to claim it is not through hard work. It is not through begging. It is through assumption. Dare to assume, the book whispers. Dare to assume you are already the man you want to be. And your world, which is nothing but a shadow, must rearrange itself to match your assumption. You decide to test it, not because you believe it, but because you are desperate. You are tired of being the victim. You are tired of the world of Caesar. You choose something small. You don't aim for $1 million or a movie star romance. You aim for a specific object, a ladder. The book suggests this. Imagine climbing a ladder. It is mundane, specific, and unlikely to happen in your daily routine. That night, you lie in bed. The city noise hums outside. Sirens, traffic, the low-frequency drone of millions of people dreaming their collective nightmare. You close your eyes. You try to relax your body to enter the state the book calls akin to sleep. A state where you are drowsy, where the rational mind surrenders its guardianship, but you are still in control of your attention. It is difficult. Your mind is a wild animal. It wants to think about the argument you had with your boss. It wants to worry about the strange noise your car is making. It wants to replay the embarrassment of 5 years ago. You gently, firmly bring it back. The ladder. You imagine a ladder in front of you, not a picture of a ladder. You are not a spectator. You are the actor. You imagine reaching out your hand. You feel the wood. Is it rough? Is it smooth? You feel the temperature of the rung. You pull yourself up. You feel the muscles in your shoulder contract. You feel the shift in gravity as you lift your foot. Climb, lift, reach. You do this for 5 minutes. You fall asleep doing it. The next day, you wake up feeling foolish. The apartment is the same. The coffee is bitter. The bus is late. It's nonsense, you tell yourself. Just a mental game to make the powerless feel powerful. 3 days pass. You have forgotten the exercise. You are walking through the city, head down, rushing to an appointment you don't want to keep. You turn a corner and nearly collide with a workman. He is carrying a long wooden structure. He stumbles, and the end of it swings toward you. You catch it reflexively. Your hands grip the wood. It is rough. It is warm from the sun. You look up. It is a ladder. Sorry about that, pal. The workman grunts. Can you hold this for a second while I get my tools? You stand there on the pavement, the world of concrete and steel swirling around you. But you are frozen. You are holding the ladder. The sensory detail is identical. The grit of the wood against your palm is exactly what you imagined in the silence of your bedroom. A chill goes down your spine that has nothing to do with the wind. It is the terror of realization. The connection was made. The bridge was crossed. You did this. You didn't build the ladder. You didn't call the workman. You simply accessed a state of consciousness, and the three-dimensional world, like a faithful dog, brought the bone to your feet. This is the moment of your second birth. The first birth was of water and blood, into the world of death. This second birth is of fire and spirit, into the world of life. But with the birth comes the fear. If this is true, if you truly caused this mundane event, then what else have you caused? You look back at your life, at the tragedies, the heartbreaks, the failures. You realize, with a sinking stomach, that you caused those too. Not consciously, perhaps, but through your inner conversations, your silent moods, your chronic feelings of unworthiness. You realize that for 30 years, you have been a negligent operator of the most powerful machine in the universe. You have been imagining monsters and then running from them when they appear. You return to the book. You read it now with a hunger that borders on obsession. You learn the law of assumption. You learn that there is no objective reality. There is only consciousness. Everything and everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. The boss who yells at you, he is only reflecting your own feelings of intimidation. The lover who ignores you, they are only reflecting your own feelings of being unlovable. You begin to experiment with higher stakes. You target money. You are tired of the scrap, of the anxiety of the mailbox. You want to feel the relief of abundance. You lie down again, night after night. You construct a scene that implies the wish is fulfilled. You don't imagine seeing money. You imagine the feeling of having it. You imagine a handshake, a friend saying, "I'm so happy for your success." You imagine the texture of a bank statement in your hands, the numbers distinct. But this time, it is harder. The resistance is immense. The world of Caesar fights back, or rather, your old beliefs, calcified in your subconscious, fight back. As you try to imagine wealth, a voice in your head screams, "Look at your bank account. It's empty. Be realistic." You are deluding yourself. You waver. You open your eyes and see the cracked paint on the ceiling. The illusion of the senses is so strong, so hypnotic. It feels more real than the imagination. The book warns you of this. It calls it serving two masters. You cannot serve the evidence of your senses and the truth of your imagination. You must deny the evidence of the senses. You must become a controlled schizophrenic, walking in the world of lack while dwelling in the inner world of abundance. You struggle for months. It is a psychological war. You feel like you are going insane. Your friends notice you are distant. You stop complaining about your job, which alienates your coworkers, because complaining was the glue that held your social circle together. You walk around with a secret smile, a secret knowledge. But the external results are slow. Doubt creeps in. Maybe the latter was a coincidence, you whisper. Maybe I'm just lucky. Then, the breakthrough. You are fired. It happens abruptly. A corporate restructuring. You are called into an office, given a cardboard box, and escorted out. The old you would have panicked. The old you would have spiraled into depression, drinking cheap whiskey and cursing the economy. But you are different now. You stand on the sidewalk, holding your box of belongings, and you feel a strange, bubbling laughter rising in your chest. You realize this is not a disaster. This is the bridge of incidents. You had imagined success. You had imagined a new life. Did you think you could get there by staying in that dead-end cubicle? The world had to break to make room for the new structure. You go home. You do not apply for jobs out of fear. You apply the law. You persist in the assumption that you are now gainfully, happily employed in a role that respects you. You live in the end. You smell the expensive leather of your new office chair. You hear the praise of your colleagues. 2 weeks later, you meet an old acquaintance on the street. A chance meeting, or so it seems. They are looking for someone with exactly your skill set for a new venture. The salary is double what you were making. The office is exactly as you visualized. You sign the contract. The pen feels heavy and real in your hand. The reality of it hits you like a physical blow. You have bent reality. You have reached into the quantum soup, into the raw energy of creation, and you have molded it with nothing but the invisible fingers of your mind. This is the growth phase of your journey. You become a magician. You begin to apply the law to everything. You fix your health. You heal a chronic pain in your knee simply by imagining yourself running freely, feeling the wind against your face, denying the pain until it fades into nothingness. You repair relationships. You stop arguing with your family in the physical world. Instead, you argue with them in your imagination, resolving the conflict, hearing them apologize, hugging them. And then, the next time you see them, They are changed. They are softer. They say the words you imagined they would say. You realize the terrifying truth. People do not have free will in your reality. They are messengers. They are actors reading the script you wrote for them in the silence of your bedroom. This realization isolates you. It separates you from the herd. You look at the crowds on the subway, the tired faces, the angry shouting, the despair, and you feel a profound compassion, but also a profound detachment. You want to shake them. You want to scream, "Wake up! You are doing this to yourself. You are the projector, not the screen." But you know they cannot hear you. They are too deep in the sleep. They are addicted to the drama. They are addicted to being victims. You decide to go deeper. You are not satisfied with just getting things anymore. The cars, the money, the houses, they are toys. They are fun, but they are hollow. You want to understand the source. You want to meet the programmer. You start to meditate on the I am. The book speaks of this ancient name. I am that I am. Before you are John, before you are Mary, before you are rich or poor, you are simply I am. Pure awareness, formless, timeless. You spend hours sitting in silence, stripping away your identity. I am not this body. I am not this name. I am not this history. You peel away the layers of the onion until you reach the center. And at the center you find a void, a silence so deep it feels like death. You enter the silence. You float in the blackness of pure consciousness. There is no time here. There is no space. There is only potential. In this state, you realize that you are not a tiny human praying to a big God. You realize that your human personality is a mask worn by God. You are the dreamer of the dream. You begin to play with time. You realize that the past is not fixed. It is memory, and memory is just imagination. You go back in your mind to traumatic events of your childhood. You rewrite them. You revise them. That moment when you were humiliated in front of the class, you replay it. In your revision, the teacher praises you. The class applauds. You feel the pride instead of the shame. You do this over and over until the memory changes. And then something impossible happens. The present changes. The scar on your hand from a bicycle accident 20 years ago. The accident you just revised in your mind. It begins to fade. Your back pain, which was rooted in an old injury, vanishes. The people involved in those past events start to remember them differently. Do you remember when you won that award in school? Your mother asks. You never won an award. But now, in this timeline, you did. You have discovered revision. You have discovered that you can edit the script of reality not just forward, but backward. You are drunk with power. You are the master of the hologram. You walk through the city like a king in disguise. You see a homeless man, and instead of giving him a coin, you give him a gift, and in your imagination, you see him employed, clean, dignified. You walk past a hospital and imagine it empty. The patient's healed. You feel a responsibility that is crushing and exhilarating. But the maturity of your journey brings a new challenge. It brings the challenge of the shadow. You see, as you become more powerful, your hidden fears manifest more quickly too. The buffer of time is collapsing. In the past, if you had a negative thought, it might take years to manifest as a disease or a failure. Now, because your channel is so clear, your fears manifest instantly. You have a fleeting thought of an accident while driving. 2 minutes later, a car swerves into your lane, missing you by inches. You have a moment of jealousy regarding your partner. That evening, a conflict erupts out of nowhere. You realize that being God is not easy. It requires eternal vigilance. It requires a mental diet that is stricter than any monk's discipline. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. You cannot afford to indulge in gossip, in criticism, in news of disaster. You stop watching the news completely. You realize it is a mass hypnosis tool designed to implant fear imaginations into the collective mind. You withdraw from cynical friends. You become a guardian of the temple of your mind. You are living in two worlds. To the outside observer, you are a successful, calm, perhaps slightly eccentric individual who seems to have incredible luck. You glide through life. Parking spots open for you. Checks arrive in the mail. Problems solve themselves before they touch you. But inside, you are fighting a constant, holy war. You are pruning the vine of your imagination every second. You are catching every thought, every emotion, and checking it at the gate. Does this serve me? Does this align with the God self? If not, it is cast into the fire. You start to teach, not on a stage, but in quiet corners. You meet a young man who is struggling, just as you were. You see the desperation in his eyes. You recognize the sleep. You hand him a book. Not the same book from 1947, perhaps, but the message is the same. Try this, you say. Stop trying to change the world. Change your conception of yourself. He looks at you with skepticism. But the economy, but the government. There is no out there, you say, your voice low and steady. The world is you, pushed out. If you change, everything changes. He takes the book. You watch him walk away. You wonder if he will wake up. You wonder if he is ready to bear the weight of his own divinity. As you enter your 40s, a new question arises. A deeper question. If I can have anything, if I can be anything, what is actually worth wanting? You have the money. You have the house. You have the health. You have experienced the thrill of bending reality. But the hunger is still there, deep down. It has changed, shifted. It is no longer a hunger for things. It is a hunger for the source itself. You begin to suspect that the law, the ability to manifest earthly desires, is just a toy given to children to teach them their power. But there is something beyond the law. There is the promise. The book from 1947 hinted at this. It spoke of a purpose beyond getting a new car. It spoke of the gestation of the God being within the man. You start to have dreams. Vivid, lucid dreams that feel more real than your waking life. In these dreams, symbols appear. A child wrapped in swaddling clothes, a serpent rising up your spine, a skull that is a tomb. You realize that your life story is not just a sequence of random events that you can control. It is a scriptural drama. You are reenacting a cosmic play. One night, you sit in your study. The room is quiet. The artifacts of your success surround you. The mahogany desk, the art on the walls, the view of the city skyline that you manifested from nothing. You close your eyes. You go into the silence. But this time, you do not ask for anything. You do not imagine a ladder. You do not imagine a check. You ask the darkness a question. Who am I? And for the first time, the darkness answers back. Not with words, but with a vibration, a sound, a wind that seems to come from inside your own skull. It is a terrifying sound. It is the sound of a stone rolling away from a tomb. You feel a pressure in your head, an expansion. You feel as though your skull is a cavern, and something is waking up inside it. You open your eyes, gasping. The room is vibrating. The walls are breathing. You look at your hand, and it seems translucent, made of light. You realize that the man you thought you were, the one who learned the law, the one who manifested the latter, is just a garment, a temporary suit. The being inside the suit is stirring. You are about to enter the decline of the human form, but the ascension of the divine form. You are about to learn that death is the greatest illusion of all. But first, you must face the final test, the test of surrender. You have spent years learning to control. Now, you must learn to let go. You must surrender the little I to the great I am. And the great I am demands everything. It demands that you burn your bridges. It demands that you trust it completely, even when the world of Caesar crumbles around you. The phone rings. It is the middle of the night. You stare at the phone, you know, with a premonition that comes from the fourth dimension, that this call brings news of death, a death in your physical world that will shatter your heart. The old you would react. The old you would scream. The new you breathes. You remember the law. You remember that death is a door, not a wall. You remember that love is eternal. You pick up the phone. Hello? I'm sorry, the voice on the other end says. It's about... You listen. You feel the grief hit you like a wave, physical and violent. But underneath the grief, there is a witness, a silent observer who stands on the rock of eternity, watching the storm. You hang up. You sit in the dark. This is the crucible. Can you imagine the impossible now? Can you imagine peace in the midst of war? Can you imagine joy in the midst of sorrow? The book from 1947 lies on the desk. It is worn now, the pages yellowed. You place your hand on it. Consciousness is the only reality, you whisper. You close your eyes. You do not accept the tragedy. You do not accept the finality. You go into the imagination. You revise the feeling of loss. You replace it with the feeling of presence. You begin the greatest work of your life, not changing the world for gain, but transmuting the lead of human suffering into the gold of divine understanding. You are the alchemist, and the fire is just getting started. You sit there in the silence of the city that sleeps around you, and you begin to weave the light. The grief does not leave you, but it changes form. In the days following the phone call, you discover that the world of Caesar, the world of hospitals, funerals, and paperwork, is relentlessly heavy. It demands your attention. It demands your tears. And you give them. You are human after all. You play the part of the mourner because the script calls for it. You wear the black suit. You shake the hands of relatives who look at you with pity. You nod when they say, "He is in a better place." But while your body stands at the graveside, watching the earth cover the gone wooden box, your mind is elsewhere. You are working in the silence. You are refusing the finality. You are practicing the ultimate act of rebellion. You are denying the reality of death in your own consciousness. You speak to the one you lost, not as a ghost, but as a presence within you. You hold imaginary conversations with them in the quiet of your car, in the shower, in the moments before sleep. You hear their voice. You feel the specific weight of their hand on your shoulder. You do not do this to delude yourself. You do this because you have realized that love is a frequency, and death is merely a change in the receiver. If you tune the radio of your mind, the signal is still there. And they answer. You feel a sudden wash of peace in the middle of a traffic jam, a peace that is not yours. You hear a joke in your head, phrased exactly the way they would phrase it, making you laugh out loud in an empty room. You realize that they have not gone away. They have simply woken up from the dream you are still dreaming. They are closer to you now than they ever were when they were separated from you by skin and bone. This experience changes you. that burns away the last vestiges of your ambition for things. The ladder, the job, the money. These were the training wheels. They were the toys you played with in the sandbox to learn the physics of creation. But now, you are bored with the sandbox. You look at your bank account and the numbers mean nothing. They are just digital ink. You look at your status in the world, the respect you command, and it feels like a costume that is 2 sizes too small. You want the exit. You want to know what this machinery is for. The forbidden book you found all those years ago spoke of 2 halves of the journey. The first half was the law, changing the world to fit your desires. You have mastered that. You can manifest a parking spot or a vacation with a flick of your wrist. It has become trivial. The second half of the journey is the promise. The promise is not about changing the world. It is about the world changing you. It is about the awakening of God within the human form. It begins with the headaches. They are not migraines. They are pressures. It feels as though your skull is being pressurized from the inside, like a deep sea diver surfacing too quickly. You hear a ringing in your ears, a high-pitched tone that seems to carry information you cannot yet decode. You go to doctors. They scan your brain. They see nothing. Stress, they say. Aging, they suggest. You smile at them politely. You know better. You know that you are pregnant. You are gestating something that is too big for this body. The I am that you found in the silences, pushing against the walls of the John or Sarah that you pretend to be. One night, the pressure breaks. You are asleep, but you are awake. You are in a lucid dream, but it is more vivid than any waking moment. You find yourself in a tomb. It is dark, suffocating. You realize, with a jolt of claustrophobic terror, that the tomb is your own skull. You are trapped inside your own head. But you are not the body. You are a being of light trapped in a bone cavern. And there is a stone at the base of your skull. You push against it. You push with a will that feels ancient. The stone rolls away. You emerge. You squeeze yourself out of your own skull like a child being born. You stand up in the room, your bedroom. But it is different. It is vibrating with a golden, liquid light. You look back at the bed. You see your body lying there. It looks like a discarded coat. It looks pale, shallow, barely breathing. But you are wind. You are fire. In this vision, you see symbols. You see a child, a radiant golden child who looks at you with eyes that hold the history of the universe. The child smiles and calls you father. You wake up gasping, your sheets soaked in sweat, your heart hammering a frantic rhythm against your ribs. The room is dark and silent, but the feeling of the golden light is still humming in your veins. You understand now. The stories, the ancient myths, the scriptures, the forbidden texts. They were never history. They were prophecy. They were not writing about a man who lived 2,000 years ago. They were writing about you. The child is your imagination, finally born, finally recognized as the Son of God. And you are the Father. You are the dreamer who has finally remembered his name. This marks the beginning of your isolation. You can no longer talk to normal people about your life. How do you explain to your coworker that you gave birth to yourself last Tuesday night? How do you explain to your neighbor that the world they are so worried about, the politics, the wars, the prices, is a shadow play projected by their own sleeping minds? You become quiet. You become the listener. You walk through the world as a spy. You sit in coffee shops and listen to people complain. You hear them say, "I can't afford this. He made me angry. I'm afraid of the flu." You see the invisible chains they wrap around themselves with every word. You see them weaving their own cages. You want to shake them. You want to shout, "Stop! You are cursing yourself. Your words are spells." But you don't. You remember the law of non-interference. You cannot wake someone who is pretending to be asleep. They need the dream. They need the conflict. They are learning, just as you learned. So you bless them silently. You look at the angry waiter and you imagine him smiling. You look at the struggling mother and you see her abundant. You lift them up in your imagination, not because they asked, but because it is the only way to keep your own air clean. You realize that everyone you meet is a projection of a piece of your own soul. To heal them is to heal yourself. But the gap widens. Your old friends drift away. They find you hard to read. You don't gossip anymore. You don't join in the collective outrage of the day. You are like a calm pool of water in a room full of boiling kettles. They can't vibrate at your frequency, so they simply fade out of your reality, replaced by others who are closer to the path. You meet a few. The seekers. They find you. It is never an accident. You are sitting on a park bench or browsing a library, and someone strikes up a conversation. You see the look in their eyes, the hunger, the exhaustion with the lies of the surface world. They ask you a question, a real question. Does it ever stop? They ask. The noise in the head? And you speak. You become the mentor. You do not give them platitudes. You give them the hard truth. It stops when you stop feeding it, you say. You are the operant power. Nothing happens to you. Everything happens through you. You teach them the art of revision. You tell them, never go to sleep feeling a mistake. If the day went wrong, rewrite it. Replay the scene in your mind the way it should have happened. Do it until the feeling of relief washes over you. The past is fluid. Change the memory, and you change the trajectory of the future. You watch some of them take the tools and build miracles. You watch others take the tools, get scared of their own power, and run back to the safety of victimhood. You learn not to judge. You learn that waking up is terrifying. It means taking total responsibility for every cancer, every car crash, every heartbreak. Most people would rather be innocent victims than guilty gods. As you enter the autumn of your life, the decline of the biological machine begins. This is the great paradox. Internally, you are expanding. Your consciousness can now touch the edges of the cosmos. You can close your eyes and feel the spin of the galaxy. You can visit the cities of light in the fourth dimension. You experience days of such intense bliss that you can barely function in the physical world. But externally, the avatar is crumbling. Your knees ache when it rains. Your eyesight blurs. The face in the mirror is lined with a map of your journey. The old you would have fought this. You would have used the law to manifest perfect health, to chase eternal youth. And you do, to an extent. You keep the machine running. You refuse to claim illness. You refuse to say, "I am old." But you also feel a detachment. You realize that the body is not you. It is the diving suit, and the diver is getting ready to come up for air. You start to view the physical world as a womb. This entire life, the 70, 80, 90 years, is just a gestation period. The struggle, the pain, the desire, the fear. It was all pressure. Pressure designed to compact your spirit into a diamond. Pressure designed to wake you up. If there were no pain, you would have stayed asleep forever. If the world obeyed your every command instantly from birth, you would never have sought the internal power. You needed the resistance. You needed the wall to push against so you could find your muscles. You begin to spend more time in the silence. Your house becomes a sanctuary. You strip away the noise. You turn off the screens. You sit in your favorite chair, watching the dust motes dance in the shaft of afternoon sunlight. And you are filled with an overwhelming gratitude for the simple act of existing. You realize that desire has faded. Not because you can't have things, but because you already are everything. When you are the ocean, you do not desire a cup of water. You begin to experience the oneness, not as a concept, but as a sensation. You look at a tree and you feel the sap running in your own veins. You look at a bird and you feel the wind under your own wings. The boundaries of your skin feel porous. This is dangerous, in a way. You lose your survival instinct. Why protect the self when there is no other to protect it from? You have to remind yourself to look both ways before crossing the street. You have to remind yourself to eat. You are drifting between dimensions, a walker of two worlds. And then, the final test of the promise arrives. It is the test of faith. You are faced with a situation that the law cannot fix. Perhaps it is a global event, a war that breaks out on the news, a chaos that threatens to engulf the reality you built. Or perhaps it is simply the inevitability of your own mortality, a diagnosis that the doctors say is final. The world screams at you, "Look, fear, terror, the end is coming." The logic of the senses screams, "You are going to die. You are going to cease to exist." You sit in the doctor's office or in front of the television, and you feel the cold breath of the void. But then you laugh. It is a quiet, dry chuckle that confuses the people around you. They think you have gone senile. They think you are in shock. But you are laughing because you see the joke. You see that death is just another room. You have been to the fourth dimension. You have seen the worlds that exist right here, right now, just slightly out of phase with this one. You know that when this heart stops beating, you do not fade to black. You simply step out of the heavy coat. You step into the younger, vital, more real body that you have been weaving with your imagination for years. You look at the doctor who's giving you the bad news with a somber face. You want to tell him, "Don't worry, son, I'm just waking up." But you don't. You nod. You play the role. You are the actor finishing the play. You will say your lines until the curtain falls. You go home. You look at your life's work, the books you read, the journals you filled with your manifestations, the ladder you climbed, the money you made. It all seems like a beautiful, intricate game. You realize that the only thing you take with you is your state of consciousness. Who did you become? Did you become love? Did you become fear? Did you become a master? Or did you remain a slave? You sit down to write your final letter. Not a will for your assets. The lawyers can handle that. But a letter to the consciousness that will come after you. A manual for the next sleeper who finds the forbidden book. You pick up the pen. Your hand trembles slightly, but your mind is as sharp as a laser. To the one who finds this, you write, "You are not a body. You are not a name. You are the God who fell asleep to dream that he was a man. You did this to experience limitation, so that when you broke free, you would know your own power. Do not fear the world. The world is you. Treat it gently, but do not bow to it. Your imagination is the only reality. Trust it. Test it. And when the time comes, surrender to it." You put down the pen. You look out the window. The sun is setting. painting the sky in violent purples and bruised oranges. The city lights are flickering on, millions of little artificial stars fighting the coming dark. You feel the pressure in your head again, the vibration, the wind. It is stronger this time. It is not just a visitor. It is a summons. The diver is being called back to the surface. You close your eyes. You do not fight it. You do not cling to the chair, or the memories, or the identity of the person you spent 80 years building. You let go. You sink into the deep, velvet blackness of the I am. You begin to expand. You feel yourself dissolving, losing the edges of the human form, becoming the room, becoming the city, becoming the sky. You are ready. You take a breath, perhaps your last in this dimension, and you speak the password to the darkness. I am. And the darkness lights up. The light is not blinding, it is clarifying. It is the light of a morning that has never known a night. You blink, expecting the heavy, crusty eyelids of an 80-year-old, but your eyes snap open with the precision of a camera shutter. You are lying on a bed. It is not the hospital bed you died in. It is not the bed in your master bedroom. It is a simple, comfortable surface in a room that feels strangely familiar. Yet you have never been here before. The air smells of ozone and fresh rain, crisp and electric. You sit up. The first thing you notice is the absence of pain, the background static of the body, the ache in the lower back, the stiffness in the knuckles, the shallow breath is gone. Silence. Absolute fluid silence in the joints. You look at your hands. They are not the hands of the old man who just wrote the final letter. The liver spots are gone. The translucent, papery skin is gone. They are strong. They are smooth. They are the hands of a man in his early 30s, the prime of life. You flex your fingers, and the response is instant, hydraulic, powerful. You swing your legs over the side of the bed and stand up. Gravity feels different here. It pulls you, but it doesn't drag you. It feels like a suggestion rather than a law. You walk to the window. Outside, there is a city. It looks like the cities of Earth, but perfected. The architecture is familiar, yet the geometry is somehow impossible. Spirals that shouldn't support weight, bridges made of light, gardens that glow with an internal bioluminescence. People are walking on the streets below. They are not floating on clouds. They are walking. They are talking. They are laughing. You realize, with a shock that is more intellectual than emotional, that you are dead. But you are also more alive than you have ever been. The door to your room opens. You turn, expecting an angel, or perhaps a demon, or a faceless administrator of the afterlife. It is her, the one you mourned, the one whose loss nearly broke you in the world below. She looks exactly as she did in the best years of your life. She's wearing a dress you remember, blue, simple. She holds a tray with 2 cups of coffee. She smiles. It is not a beatific, holy smile. It is her smile, the one with the slight crook in the corner. You slept a long time, she says casually, setting the tray down. I was about to wake you. You stare at her. You want to fall to your knees. You want to weep. But in this place, the emotions are not heavy. They do not drown you. They wash through you like clear water. I thought I lost you, you say. Your voice is deep, resonant. She laughs. You can't lose anything. You just forgot where you put it. She hands you the coffee. You taste it. It is rich, dark, and impossibly vivid. The sensory experience is heightened. You can taste the soil the bean grew in. You can feel the heat radiating into your fingertips. Where are we? You ask. School, she says. or a waiting room, depending on how you look at it. This is the fourth dimension. It's just like the third, but the resistance is gone. She leads you to the window. Look. You look down at the street. You see a man walking. He stops. He looks at a patch of empty grass. He concentrates. And right before your eyes, a bench materializes. Not instantly, like a magic trick, but rapidly. Like a flower blooming in fast forward, the wood weaves itself out of the air. The iron legs solidify. He sits down. Here, she whispers. The buffer of time is removed. In the world you just left, there was a gap between the seed of thought and the harvest of reality. You had to wait. You had to persist. That gap was there to protect you, to keep you from destroying yourself with every fleeting fear. But here, the harvest is immediate. You understand. This is the training ground for the graduates. You spend what feels like years in this realm. Though time here is not measured by clocks, it is measured by experience. You reunite with everyone. The parents who died when you were young, the friends who drifted away. You realize that no one was ever gone. They were just in the next room, operating on a frequency your old radio couldn't pick up. But it is not just a vacation. It is work. You are taken to the Hall of Records. It is a library that has no ceiling and no floor, just endless shelves of living light. You are here for the review. You do not stand before a judge. There is no old man with a beard condemning you to hell. There is only you. You are your own judge. You sit in a chair, and the movie of your life begins. But it is not a 2D film. You re-enter the moments. You are back in the office 30 years ago, yelling at a subordinate. But this time, you don't just feel your anger. You feel his fear. You feel the knot in his stomach. You feel the impact of your words rippling out into his evening, affecting his wife, his children. You feel the chain reaction of your own unconsciousness. It hurts. It burns. This is the fire of hell, the burning away of the ego's illusions. You see, with terrifying clarity, that you were never a victim. You see the car accident you thought was bad luck. You rewind the tape. You see the weeks leading up to it. You see your own thoughts, anger, resentment, a desire to crash, to escape responsibility. You see the black cloud of energy you built, brick by brick, until the physical world had no choice but to conform and break your car. You see the miracles, too. The ladder, the money. You see the golden threads of your intent weaving through the chaos, arranging the coincidences. You weep for your ignorance, and you rejoice for your awakening. You realize that justice is absolute. You got exactly what you imagined. Always. There were no accidents. After the review, you become a teacher. New souls arrive constantly. They arrive confused, scared, still clutching the phantom pains of their death. They arrive believing in punishment, believing in chaos. You meet them. You are the calm one now. You are the guide. You tell them, you are safe. You are the creator. Look at this flower. Imagine it changing color. You watch them struggle. You watch them doubt. And then, you watch them delight as the rose turns blue under their gaze. You see the lights go on in their eyes. You are paying it forward. You are waking the sleepers, just as the book woke you. But as the years pass in this paradise, a new dissatisfaction grows. It is a holy dissatisfaction. You look at this beautiful world, this world where you can fly, where you can manifest a palace in an hour, where you are young and loved, and you realize it is still a dream. It is a lucid dream, a beautiful dream, but it is still a construct. It is still things. It is still separation. There is still a you and a me. You remember the promise. You remember the vibration you felt in your skull before you died. You remember the child. You realize that this fourth dimension is not the end. It is just a higher level of the game. But you are tired of games. You want the source. You withdraw again. You go to the mountains of this inner world, to the high peaks of violet light. You sit in meditation. You call upon the deep, formless I am. I have finished the work, you say to the silence. I have played the part of the man. I have played the part of the ghost. I have played the part of the godling. I am ready to return. The silence answers. The vibration returns. It is louder this time. It is a roar like 1,000 waterfalls. Your body of light begins to dissolve. You realize that the individual you cherished, the personality, the memories, the specific history of the man who climbed the ladder, is being folded up. It is being stored in the archives of eternity, a finished chapter. But you, the awareness behind the man, are expanding. You are becoming the mountain. You are becoming the sky. You are becoming the friends you loved. You are becoming the enemies you fought. You realize the ultimate joke, the punchline of the cosmos. There was only ever one of us. It was you. It was always you. You were the boss who fired you. You were the lover who left you. You were the beggar on the street. You were the dictator and the saint. You fractured yourself into billions of shards so that you could have the pleasure of putting yourself back together. And now, the reintegration is complete. You feel a sensation of love that is so intense it would vaporize a physical heart. It is a fire that consumes everything and leaves only itself. You are entering the seventh dimension, the realm of pure being. But wait. Just as you are about to merge fully into the white light of the Absolute, just as you are about to cease to be someone and become everything, you pause. You look back. You look down through the dimensions. You look down through the clouds of the fourth dimension, down through the heavy atmosphere of the third dimension. You see a world. Earth, it is spinning in the dark. It is filled with pain. It is filled with people who are crying in lonely rooms, people who are terrified of their bank balances, people who are praying to a God they think is deaf. You see a young man sitting in a cramped apartment, holding his head in his hands. You see a woman crying in her car. You see an old man staring at a wall. They are asleep. They are having nightmares. And you love them. You love them because they are you. They are the parts of you that are still dreaming. You have a choice. You can merge. You can enter the bliss of nirvana and never return. You can rest in the ocean of perfection forever. Or you can go back. You can take a piece of this fire, a piece of this truth, and you can dive back into the mud. You can accept the limitation of a body again. You can accept the heaviness of gravity again. You can forget who you are just for a little while, so that you can rediscover it again. And in doing so, leave a trail of breadcrumbs for the others. You look at the light. Then you look at the dark. The light is peace. The dark is promise. You smile. One more time. You whisper. You turn your back on the absolute bliss. You dive. You feel the compression. You feel these heavy layers of the atmosphere wrapping around you. You feel the forgetfulness washing over you like a warm anesthesia. You forget the hall of records. You forget the flying. You forget the oneness. You are becoming small. You are becoming dense. You are entering a womb. Darkness, rhythm, the beat of a mother's heart, waiting, and then light, cold air, a slap, a cry. You are born. You open your eyes. But this time, deep in the subconscious basement of your mind, there's a seed that cannot be crushed. A seed of memory. A seed that says, I am not this body. I am the dreamer. And now, look at where you are. Look at your hands holding this device. Look at the room you are sitting in right now. Do you understand what is happening? This is not a story about a man who lived and died. This is a wake-up call. I am speaking to you from the other side of the veil. I am the part of you that stayed behind to guide you. You are currently in the dream. You are currently walking the bridge of incidents. The problems you face today, the heartache, the struggle, it is the friction you chose to wake yourself up. You don't have to wait for death to experience the power. You don't have to wait for the fourth dimension to change the furniture of your life. You can do it now. The book is in your hands. The ladder is waiting. Close your eyes. Stop being the character on the screen. Be the projector. Take a deep breath. Who are you? Say it. I am. Now, open your eyes and begin.